Started?
I'm
Okay,
ready.
excellent. All right, so transparency is a passion for you, and I'd like to start there. So some people overlook transparency and think it's kind of like the uncool part of their job, but you are really passionate about this, and I'd really like to know why and why you think transparency and privacy is important.
I feel like at the start of privacy, when this became a thing, people invested in privacy policies, but it was the lawyers talking to the regulators. And it's kind of continued along that path. It really hasn't been someplace that you see people innovating, but it's the first touch. It's the first time your customers, your teammates feel and understand the organization. I actually look at privacy as a trust function. So it's that first layer of trust when people are interacting with you, and it's becoming more prevalent. So for me, if that first touch isn't real, if it's not plain language, if it's not speaking to your customer or your teammates, depending on which type of transparency we're talking about, you're losing them, right? You're not showing and expressing that you care about this way and that they're sharing data with you. And when there's this data exchange, you want them to feel that warmth of, wow, this is a company that cares for me. And those companies who do it well, and there are very few that I have seen, when those companies do it well, you actually have customers who reach out to you and say, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've never had this level of transparency, and that this makes me feel so much better about a thing. So it really is how you are introducing yourself and your culture around privacy and acknowledging really that you care. Now, as like a complete nerdy, why do I love it as an attorney? I get to toss aside everything I learned in law school about how to write out the window and take the robotic part of me away and start to talk and write and think like a human, and how my customer, my teammates, how we interact with what we're capturing and using. And so it's just such a creative way. I mean, it's how often do lawyers get to say they get to be fun and creative, right? You get to be creative and think about, how do I introduce this? How do I express it? I'm here talking on behalf of myself, not my current company or past companies, but if you look at the Albertsons company's privacy policy, it's a great example. You'll see some of like the fun language as you like lean into things. Like there's a few lines in there that I am like super proud of that we wove into as the introduction for headers, because it's interesting and it's unique and it's folksy and warm and it feels like your brand, because your ways of being transparent, if it's in a privacy policy, if it's through tooltips or anything like that, should be brand right? Like it should be brand right. And for the most part, you don't see that. You see, oh, the lawyer wrote something, and maybe they try a little, but it's not about them. And even your policy should feel like your brand, and it should feel like who you are. So to me, it's a lot of fun. I recognize it's rare to say that. When you have a partner to write it with who really gets it, it's even more fun. And then your company, when the people are reading it, the internal people, they're excited that it feels like them and it doesn't feel like this legal thing that you're kind of pushing down.
I love that you say it's a way to introduce yourself, because I have not seen that done very often or well. You're right. It seems very separated in legalese, like you're in trouble reading a privacy notice already. I'm just trying to use this service. So I like bringing the human touch to it in your brand. So kind of along that line, I would say for consumers, many of us struggle with privacy notices. It's either really long or in legalese in terms that are not understandable, or it's just like information overload. You just click accept. So in your experience, I'm curious about practical tips to strike a balance between being comprehensive and being transparent enough, but also being clear. So, do you have any advice or tips on how to strike that balance?
Yeah, so I think there's a distinction between, a lot of lawyers are like looking at the squareness of what they've been told, and you must do this exact thing. There's a way to look at the spirit of the law and the intent of what they're getting at without writing something that's 50 pages long, right? I somewhere in the back of my office, I have. Does anyone else have the comic book, the Apple Terms and Conditions? It does anyone? Okay. Anyways, I have that here because I thought it was funny that someone was like, "It's so long that we're just gonna turn it into a comic book." But that's the sort of thing, like you shouldn't be in a situation where it's nobody can read it. Nobody's ever going to be able to sit down and read it. It's too much. So there's a few things that I do. I look to see is it digestible, is it understandable. I recognize I'm a little bit robotic still because you can't, wash away all of the law school learning here. Or sometimes I'll use a word where I think it's plain. And sometimes I test it on my husband, like, hey, what do you think about this word? He's got no context, but he's like, I don't think you should use that word. Like, it's good to like, oh, you're a regular person. You didn't go to law school. Is this human? And then working in your business to say that I always have my mobile device in my hand because I know that more and more people are not using I can't even think other than work when I'm on my laptop. I am almost always on my tablet or on my iPhone, right? Like, so I always have it here to be like, what's viewable here? How is someone going to meaningfully look at it? I make sure I understand UX and trends in it. So like where it's not just your privacy notice, it's like, how do I maybe accommodate something where I won't include here, I won't fully reference it as a tooltip somewhere. So I make good friends with my product people to make sure I'm understanding what they're seeing and what they're trending at. You can kind of summarize what you do without saying it has to be paragraphs. So a lot of it is streamlining. I've heard some attorneys, I have not done this yet. I'm not sure how I would, but I probably wouldn't in Chat GPT, but there have been attorneys who've been like trying to throw first drafts together there. My concern is Chat GPT doesn't understand your business, but maybe it gives you a starting point to maybe be more plain language. I haven't done it. I can't endorse it because I also get nervous about the public part of Chat GPT, but that you have AI technologies that are maybe in-house that could help. You've got people to work off of. And the most critical part is understanding your business. So how do you take something super complex and turn it into 5 words? You understand your business enough to be able to do that and what you're doing, and then it conveys in the right way.
Yeah, I love this approach, and I like that you focus on UX design too, because that's a miss I think a lot of people forget about. It's kind of like it matters not only what you say, but how you say it. And that's kind of the online version of that. So super cool. All right, I'd love to shift to career paths because I know we wanted to cover 2 topics, and I'm sure there's going to be a number of questions about transparency. So let's shift quickly to career paths. I'm curious, Rebecca, why did you get into privacy?
So I kind of feel like I fell into everything at the absolute perfect moment. When I graduated law school, I ended up doing more emergency management work, but I got a graduate certificate in Homeland Security Management, and there was a little piece of cybersecurity. And I was working as a consultant embedded at NASA, and I remember this because I think it's like the most important advice I have for everybody is like, you are in charge of your own career. You have to advocate for yourself. And my boss was amazing. And I pulled him in and I said, I really want to do more policy and process work. Like, I have this side of me. I really, this is fine. It's just, I don't feel like this is where my heart is. And he said to me, you'll still have to do your day job, but I have something that you'll really love. So I had a couple months where I was working like 14-hour days, and which was fine because like I wanted to explore this other thing. Like I was saying that, and I fell in love with data privacy. Is like, this is what I want. This is where my passion is. And it was that one conversation where I just said, I wanna do more. And that was kind of how I discovered this area. And then I never thought I would leave government. In full transparency, here I am in my 3rd job outside of government, never intending to go back to anything government related if I can help it. But that jump was, I really want to do more. I know I learned because I was an embedded consultant, how to build programs, how to be strategic, how to write policy, how to build, right? I wanted to do more and take that somewhere. And IAPP used to have a highlighted job at the bottom of their daily newsletter email, just like 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And the Under Armour job popped. And I was like, what's the harm? I love Baltimore. I love Under Armour. I'm just going to apply. And that whim of, do I meet everything? No, I worked at a federal agency, a consultant. I never went in-house as outside counsel. I never followed the path that was expected, but I took the leap of faith to apply, and kind of everything flowed from there.
Wow. I'm just so blown away by the fact that you worked at NASA. I'm okay, just a quick one. Yes or no? If NASA called you and said we need a chief privacy officer, yes or no?
If I wasn't consulting and I was in vetting, no. If the president called me, different conversation. And NASA, like, it would take a lot for me to want to go back. It's such a different atmosphere of how you approach privacy. And even, I saw the CPPA was looking for lawyers. I'm like, it's great. I think that's awesome that people want to go on the inside. Like, I just feel like unless it's like really someone high up saying we want to tap your patriotic insides to go there, I just can't picture myself jumping in. Although I do think it gives you a super strong basis for like how regulators think and how the government thinks about things. It's a lot more square, but it gives you a good baseline of those things.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind if I ever make it to president of the United States. You would be willing to go back for me in that role. Rebecca, I am curious. So now you're in the CPO role, and I'm curious. So, you went from NASA to Under Armour. What were the critical factors in your career that propelled you into the CPO role today, and what's important for you in that role?
So I think there are a lot of people who feel like you have to go work at a firm and go here and then you'll get to CPO. And there are a lot of companies who do really think that you have to be an attorney to be a CPO. I'm not one of them. I personally do not think that's the case, right? I think that the breadth of your background, you can always have great privacy counsel supporting the CPO. You don't have to be there. But I do think it's really important, and kind of what makes me a little bit unique is I've built programs. I wasn't counsel when I was supporting NASA, right? I was building a program is different than serving as counsel. And so I've done that. I've done the risk work, I've done the governance work, and I've done the legal work. And so it's because I have a little touch of everything, it makes me a little bit more unique, because most attorneys, at least that companies who are focused on having an attorney come in, they don't have the program building. And if people are at firms, I don't know who on here is at a firm and looking to go in-house, I would say if there's any opportunity to learn business things, so much of what attorneys miss is like the business side of it. And then for people who aren't attorneys looking to kind of go to that path, they feel like it's how do I make sure, and a lot of the certifications and things like that are how you kind of indicate you have an understanding of the law. Like, how do I build that part of myself up so I can move towards that CPO role?
Excellent advice. We see that happening all the time in conversations as well. We're in that operationalizing era of privacy. So good to hear that that's critical for you too. One final question before we open it up to Q&A. I know that you are passionate about a lot of things, and we only have 15 minutes to cover here. So, Rebecca, I just want to open up the floor for you. Is there anything else that you think folks should know about getting into and succeeding in a privacy role before we get to questions?
Yeah, as you move into leadership, I think you have to understand your philosophy of privacy. How do you view it? What's your lens? How do you talk about it? And as you sell yourself and you kind of say, this is who I am, being able to express that, right? I am an operational privacy attorney. I tell people up front, I'm not someone who's just going to turn paper all day looking at DPAs. I'm supportive of that, but that is not my role. I build and enhance programs, right? I know how I think about privacy. It's a trust function. It's not a compliance checkbox function. So like, I speak to that and I know that. Being able to interview with that level of what your philosophy is really, really important. You define yourself. Don't let other people define you. Make sure I'm very transparent. Like the last 2 jobs I took, I had 1 child, then 2 for this last one. Very transparent about what my priorities are. Like, my number 1 priority is my children. It's always going to be my children, but I want to rock it at work. I'm really proud of my career and what I do. And sometimes I have to let the tiny humans dictate my day, and I need to work for people who allow that. So I make sure that they know it. I know that if I'm a CPO and I didn't have a legal background, I wasn't a lawyer, I know that I can bring those people in. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You need to surround yourself with an awesome team and just have that confidence in that area as you build it.
I love to hear that you're really bringing this trust and business perspective into privacy with the notices, your business friendly perspective, your consumer friendly communication style. It's all coming together into this really cool perspective on privacy, Rebecca. Thank you for that. Folks, it's time for Q&A. It is your time to shine.